Farming Simulator has its own competitive esports scene, and over the last several months I've followed it across Europe in order to answer the following question. How is that even possible? Isn't this a game about, you know, tractors? Following this rabbit hole would lead me to 3 different countries. I'd experience my very own Rocky-styled training montage. I'd talk shop with a variety of actual farmers, and eventually, without any sense of irony, I'd find myself getting really quite into Pro Farming Simulator. I'm as surprised as you are, honestly. My journey began at Gamescom last year, where hundreds of thousands of people come to shuffle around its halls hoping to play the most anticipated games before anybody else. But not me. I was here for something a little more rural.
That's an actual tractor.
I was here to spectate the second tournament of Season 5 of the Farming Simulator League.
Da ist der Gänsehaut-Moment.
Unfortunately, the live commentary was in German, and so it was a bit tricky to follow what was going on at times. However, this bit did seem quite exciting.
Jetzt werden wir sehen, mal gucken, ob wir den reinwerfen wird. Wird's klappen und zack, da sind sie drin. Unglaublich, was 100 Punkte mit einem Wurf. Das ist der absolute Wahnsinn.
Okay, here's what I actually do know. The Farming Simulator League was established by Giant Software, the creators of Farming Simulator, in 2019, and today it consists of a dozen or so teams, many of whom are sponsored by real-world farming brands. There's no FaZe Clan over here, folks. We're talking about Trelleborg Tires, Lindner, and Halm, a German chemical company which makes things like fertilizer. And there's money too, more money than you might be expecting. This year's season has a total prize pool of 200,000 euros. So how does it actually work? What even is a competitive game of Farming Simulator? Let's start with the basics. This isn't about managing an actual estate like you do in the core game. Instead, it's a bespoke, almost speedrun adjacent setup in which 2 teams of 3 players compete on uncannily symmetrical farms, with the winning team being the one that racks up the highest score at the end of each round. How do they score points? Bales into barns, baby. I really tried to make that sound exciting. Here's one of the team's barns, right? You'll notice it has 2 entrances, a big one at the bottom and then this one up here, which can only be reached via a conveyor belt. Bales that get dropped off at the bottom typically net a team 10 points apiece, but get your bales up top and a multiplier gets involved. How does that multiplier work? Well, to answer that question, we need to consider for a moment how a straw bale actually gets made. It's not funny. If we jump over to the wheat field on one of our maps, you'll see a player cutting through it with a combine harvester, leaving a nice plump line of straw in its wake. A second player can then hoover this up using something called a baler, and hey presto, you've got yourself some bales of straw. However, you know this, I know this, wheat is not just farmed for straw. If anything, that's the byproduct of the real star of the show. We're talking about bread's best friend, grain. As that combine has been pottering around the field, chewing up everything in its path, it's steadily filling its mechanical gullet with grain, which can then be poured out into a trailer. Ideally, this is done on the move, like some kind of cool stunt from the Fast and the Furious, but slower and calmer. Take that trailer to the silo, empty it there, and you've got yourself that all-important multiplier bonus for your barn. In fact, it's even better than this, because as your multiplier goes up, your opponent's is going down by the same amount. And so, with proper communication, you can ensure that your team's bales are being scored when your multiplier is at its very peak. And ultimately, by the time we reach the mid to late game, where both teams have dropped off all the grain they're gonna harvest, and now are focusing on bales, whoever collected the most will just end up with a significant multiplier advantage, which may make all the difference. But wait, there's more. Competitive Farming Simulator has, I kid you not, a pick and ban phase for tractors before the match begins. There are team and player perks to consider, mid-game power-ups, the speed of the conveyor belts can be increased or even totally stopped in their tracks, and the bridges leading to the barns can be raised and lowered, which is just a Smash Brothers-ass feature that will hopefully see your opponent losing 150 grand's worth of agricultural machinery into a moat. But to give you some idea of why this all actually might work as a spectator sport, let me tell you about one of the most hyped moments in a game of competitive Farming Simulator, the first bale, or as I like to call it, the Barnstormer. You see, when a match begins, each team spawns into a starting area that's fenced in, and after a short countdown, its gates will spring open and it'll be time to farm. To really make the most out of that countdown, each player should have been using it to build up momentum, ready to fly out of their respective gate at a whopping top speed of like, I don't know, 40 miles an hour or something? They are tractors, after all. Now, most of the game is about getting bales into that upper section of the barn, like we talked about. But for the very first one, that's not the case. For one bale only, you can sling it in via the main entrance and get a gigantic multiplier for doing so. A multiplier that has been steadily ticking down from the moment the game began. And so, this means players have needed to perfect the art of scoring exactly one bale as quickly as possible. Here's how they do it. You've heard some of this before. Someone on the team will jump into a combine harvester and begin forging a path through one of the wheat fields, leaving a tight trail of straw behind them. While that's happening, a second player couples their tractor with a baler, races over to them, and follows the path they've carefully sliced through the field. Once they've sucked up enough straw to create that first bale and no more, they pull off and absolutely hoon it towards the barn. And now, here's where things get a little bit spicy. As the player approaches the barn at exactly the right moment, they activate their baler, which begins slowly excreting its bale out of the back. And if timed correctly, if the driver gets the angle just right, they should drop this load just as the tractor hurtles past the barn at full speed, depositing it for maximum points. But if you get that timing anything less than perfect, if your angles are off by just a fraction, the bale will instead fall limply outside its desired home, and you'll need to slam on the brakes, turn around, and nose it back into place with your tractor, costing you points and just so much dignity in the process. It's not exactly the 2006 FA Cup final, but it is something. So I enjoyed quite a bit of what I saw during my Gamescom trip, but to properly get into a sport, I need a team to root for, someone to get behind, you know? That's what was missing. And so I turned to one of the games media's most often overlooked print publications for some inspiration. That's Farming Simulator, the official magazine. As I flick past some of the very latest Farming Simulator hardware and a rather provocative article on We Control, I have to say, I found this, a profile on one of the league's up-and-coming teams, New Holland. Previously known as Les Fermiers Flamboyants, this plucky team is credited here with disrupting the league's metagame in the last season, thanks to, and I quote, their grain-centric strategy built around something called the Big Haul. I wasn't totally sure why, but there was something about this profile that just, it spoke to me. And so I arranged to meet these likely lads at a training session they had planned in Paris. New Holland, it turned out, was actually going through some big changes just as I arrived. Its core team had been playing together for a little while now, but one of their more experienced players, Joseph, would not be able to compete in their next tournament, and so he was being subbed out for a brand new member of the team, the 21-year-old Theo. Now, Joseph and Theo both play baler, meaning it's their job to create as many straw bales as possible and then shunt them over to the barn in good time, allowing the stacker to pop them onto the conveyor belt and start earning points. But it's also the baler's job to land that crucial first bale. Intrigued to get a sense for what that actually means, I asked Joseph to coach me as I played alongside the rest of the team and tried this elusive maneuver for myself.
Full speed.
Full speed.
And I will tell you when to press Y.
Okay. I approached the barn with my heart racing. Could I pull this off?
Full speed, full speed, full speed, full speed, full speed, full speed. Oh! You're fucking playing! Okay, now you have to leave.
Okay.
And you have to go to the track.
Sorry. This was perhaps one of the greatest sporting moments of my entire life. Unfortunately, the rest of my session with the team didn't go quite so well, as I struggled to follow Joseph's seemingly straightforward instructions.
Oh, this is bad wheat. You have to dodge.
What do you mean it's bad wheat? That's bad wheat!
So be left, left. Okay. So go left.
Left.
Yeah, go.
Can I just point out that this keyboard is not designed in this? Oh! No! What am I saying? What I wanted to point out, I'd hate for this to sound like an excuse,
but
that keyboard layout is like wildly different. It's quite similar, but like it's so W's down here.
Ah, because, yeah, it's French.
But it was genuinely such a pleasure to play with these guys, and in fact, if you're a PMG patron, you can watch the full training session in all its glory as a thank you for supporting our work. And if you're not one already, you could be one if you like. Head over to patreon.com/peoplemakegames to find out more. New Holland also showed me their big haul strategy in action, which involves essentially amassing a dragon's hoard of grain to build a higher multiplier than their opponents, even at the expense of other parts of their game. Big Haul is the name of a team perk that they'll usually select, which gives them access to this massive trailer, which they'll then look to fill with grain using not one, but 2 combine harvesters at the same time. Quin's let me know that in French, this is actually referred to as a ménage à trois. I hope I've said that right. I haven't run it through Google Translate, but I'll take his word for it. Does it work? I've absolutely no idea, but we'll soon be finding out as we follow them into their next event. Before I left Paris, however, I had to ask, what do other people make of them being pro farming simulator players? Like, esports is one thing, but what did their friends and family say when they told them they harvest wheat at a competitive level?
They lost a lot. Yeah. We say, well, tractor player, we play tractor.
At the beginning, when Sinis sent me a message to play in the team and to substitute Rhodes, I was like, no, no, I don't want to play farming.
Usually when you talk about farming simulator esports to people who know esports, they're like, there is esport in farming simulator, and you're, yes, and you do tournament, yes, and you travel to Europe, yes, and you earn money. Yes, what is this?
And then we start to explain the multiplicators, the bales, you have to harvest, you only have 10 minutes, there is bonus, we didn't, like I said, there is a draft, the draft is always like the crazy part. And actually it's, for people, it's actually a good date thing. When you talk it, it breaks the ice, always.
Reeling at this insight into the love life of farming sim pros, I left New Holland to their practice session and headed back home. I may have arrived in Paris as a journalist, but I left the city as a New Holland fan. These were my boys. I'd follow them anywhere, or more specifically, I'd follow them to an event they'd be competing in at an upcoming agricultural machinery show in the West Midlands. Nestled away within this labyrinth of tractors and real-life farmers drinking real-life pints was the next round of the Farming Simulator League. This was easily the strangest place I'd ever watched live esports. In fact, before I caught up with New Holland, I was keen to hear what the British farming community made of this strange addition to their show. Is this anything like farming?
No, it isn't. Right.
Yeah, the tractors and the equipment we know, yeah.
Is that a good harvester?
Good modern fleet. Yeah, they're all good, yeah, it's all modern.
I mean, the challenges that you have on a farm, whether it be safety, whether it be certainly agronomically.
Does any of this look recognisable to what you do in your real life?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That looks like what's happening in Germany right now.
Yeah, right. What's happening in Germany right now?
There's protests.
Oh, fuck.
What makes it so difficult? I think the distance between the consumer and the producer.
Right. Are you familiar with New Holland?
Yeah, we know New Holland, yeah.
We have a New Holland. Is it good? Is it good?
It's a good brand, yeah, it's a good brand.
I don't know much about tractors.
New Holland's good, yeah, no, don't worry about that. It's okay.
Yeah, okay.
It's
mid-range.
Yeah.
But I wasn't just here to look at big tractors and pretend I was driving them like a real grown-up farmer. I met up with the guys as they arrived outside. Okay, we're outside the NEC, it's very cold, so we'll try and keep this brief. Cygnus, you're about half an hour away from the tournament starting. How are you feeling?
I'm really excited to play, I really want to play. Yeah, and I'm confident, I think we can win, so we'll do our best.
Who's up first? Do you know who your first opponent is?
We face Valfa, who are tied with us at second place.
Did they just walk past them? Is that them?
They just walk past us, we can see them on the background.
They look scared, to me.
I think they are scared.
Yeah, look at them in their big coats, warm. No, I was just talking about myself.
2-0.
2-0, okay, cool. Yeah, so your first tournament, you still feeling good? Where's your mind at?
If I do a really good first bale, it will be very important for me. First bale, it will be so important for me because I can snowball. Okay. So I think it's the more important for me.
They seemed calm enough, sort of. I mean, they were saying all the right things, but you could feel some nervousness in the air. Doing well in the tournament today and tomorrow meant points for the league table, but it also meant the winning team walking away with 15,000 euros as well. As the tournament began, Quins and I settled into our seats and were absolutely delighted to be featured on the official Farming Simulator League broadcast within moments of doing so.
I mean, the last game tomorrow, so we had this like a double final, but now we have changed it to best of 5 final, and the team that is coming from the upper bracket is going to be getting like a 1 match advantage on that one. So you want to stay in the on the upper bracket. We can see some audience pictures there as well. We do have some Farming Simulator magazines on their hands.
All right, my sweet French lads are about to play their first game of the show. They're up against Vultra, which is the team. They're currently neck and neck in the league tables. They both got the same points. So if they win this one, it's a pretty big deal. In fact, I would say they have to. And yeah, the thing that I'm particularly most nervous about, maybe more nervous than the team, is I really want to see Theo, the young buck, the new member of the team, land that first bale. I feel like he needs the confidence boost, he needs the hit, and it'll be plain sailing after that. So first bale, Theo. The game started well for New Holland as they pinched a combine harvester just before Vultra could get to it, leaving one of their players scrambling to find an alternative and wasting valuable seconds. Our lads, however, were perfectly primed to land a really quick first bale with a hefty multiplier. It was all up to young Theo now, or Fatou as he's known in game.
Points out of it. Let's see, Fatou, it's not going to be one. It can be 140 actually, easily. 145 is still doable if he's going to swing that in.
Yeah,
and it's going to be 146. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
No one else cheered.
The 146, that is the highest first bale of today, so even Helm wasn't able to do better.
Vultra's first bale was a disaster by comparison. They even got their baler stuck, it was that bad. New Holland couldn't be off to a better start. The remainder of the round was really defined by the 2 team perks that had been selected. Our guys were of course running their trademark big haul play, but Vultra had grabbed something called Unstoppable. Now Unstoppable is all about the conveyor belt. If you have it, your team's belt runs faster than the other side, and on top of this, your belt can't be stopped. It's unstoppable, I suppose. If you deliver too much too quickly before the other team has unloaded at least some grain on their end, you can end up slowing down and eventually even disabling your conveyor belt if you're not paying attention to what's happening. And yet, this is exactly what New Holland did next.
I don't quite understand why, when you're going up against Unstoppable, you deliver enough grain to stop your own belt.
And so here they are with a 3x multiplier, which is the highest it can go, but no clear way of getting their bales up to the top entrance to actually score any points. But let's not forget that this team, my team, used to be called Les Fermiers Flamboyants.
At that point, you've got to do this. You then have to drive your tractor up and score points this way.
Can you get all in? All 3 of them? Yes! With the multiplier, that's going to be 42
with
times
the bale
3.
multiplier.
Yeah, that's like a 126 points right there.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Vultra ends up dropping some more grain eventually, which, I don't know, might not have been the right move on their part because it means New Holland's belt does at least start moving again, although at an outrageously slow speed. Again, my lads find a way.
72 points right there. So yeah, Peter is doing a good job. Actually a very good job, to be honest.
And there's really no coming back from that. Vultra would go on to deliver just 1 bale less than New Holland, but look at the difference in points.
Seconds to go. So New Holland, they will claim the first match of the series. And Vultra, they had a difficult start, to be honest.
For round 2, both New Holland and Vultra are forced to select new team perks, as you're only allowed to use each perk once per game. And so both sides instead select something called Bottleneck, which permanently raises some of the other team's bridges. But really what this means for New Holland is they now need to prove they can win games without just relying on Big Haul. Theo lands another strong first bale at 139 compared to Vultra's 122. And then, well, it was a pretty slow start to the round after that, with both sides concentrating on grain, and in fact neither team even attempted to score a bale for the first 2/3 of the game. A viable strategy, but not necessarily a crowd pleaser. Anyway, my guys don't need to be flashy, they were here to win.
2 minutes to go. New Holland, they have a, let's say, a pretty, I mean, it's not that big, but I would say it's still comfortable lead, to be honest. I mean, because they have been performing pretty well, they have the bales.
And that was the story of the game, really. A comfortable victory, if a little less exciting to spectate, in the previous round. But with that win under their belt, New Holland continued in the winners bracket of the tournament. All right, lads, you just smashed the first game, 2-0. First bail both times as well. I don't think I've ever been, it was like you were my son out there. I've never been that proud. Yeah, 146 on the first one.
Yeah.
What was the second one, do you remember?
139.
This
because,
guy.
it was against bottleneck, so we don't have the middle bridge and.
Right, this guy, you gotta be pretty pleased with
for
him.
the first tournament, it's perfect. Like we come ready. He shows that he's ready because when you have a newcomer on the team, you can be like, maybe they are not strong enough because this is a new player. But he shows that he's better than the previous one.
Sure. Wow, I just took that. Who was it who drove the 3 bales up when there was the 3 times multiplier?
Yeah, it's
pretty sick, man. Pretty sick.
It's a technique like. All players should know how to play it, but few teams don't know.
Guys, this game is easy. You've got it. If you just keep doing exactly that for the rest of the day. Like it's Helm next as well, right?
Yeah.
So Helm is the league leaders, world champions from last time. It's almost the final before the final. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a final before the final, but it will be a close match. Everything is possible. Yeah. We know we can beat them. They know they can beat us. So we'll do our best, and I think we are ready.
Helm are the clear favourites to win this tournament, it needs to be said. They're a German team, and well, I'm not wild about the stereotype that I'm going to reinforce here, but they're really efficient. There is no single part of their game which they specialise in, really, like we have in New Holland. It's just, well, it's everything. They consistently make more bales and score more bales than all the other teams.
They press bales faster than anybody else does.
Now, interestingly, both teams have opted for Big Haul in this first round, with near identical tractor setups too. I think Helm are sending a message to my boys here that reads, we can play your strategy better than you can. Honestly, I respect the flex. Now both New Holland and Helm start off a little shaky, with players on both sides getting picked to a vehicle that they need, meaning those first bales come in a little bit late, and in fact, Theo misses his drop and needs to go back and nudge it in. There's only 3 points between them in the end, but mentally, I worry that could have left a mark.
Both teams having a surprisingly slow start.
But it's New Holland that eventually wins this tug of war in the end, thanks to a somewhat fortunate power-up that drops, leaving them with a final multiplier of 2.1 compared to Helm's 1.9. A mishap from either side here would likely decide the round.
Even getting caught on a bridge, even having the bales fly off the front.
Something like this, you mean?
Despite this, my guys managed a 100-point lead with a minute or so left to go, and it seemed like they were about to pull off the biggest upset of the tournament so far. But then Helm did what Helm do. They simply had more bales on the field, and in the final moments, that's all that really mattered.
How have they done that in the last seconds? And it's going.
It will be Helm. They will come back and they will get the first game. For a while, it seemed that they can't pull that off, but they did.
And that's what I'm talking about. It's the fact that they just press so many bales in the dying moments of matches that it overwhelms other teams. It's incredible.
Round 2 began with a successful Helm first bale, and then this.
Oh no, he's missed!
Both teams ended up neck and neck when it came to grain and their multipliers, but elsewhere an enormous gap was starting to reveal itself.
I'm looking at this now and going, how have Helm got 5 more bales than New Holland have at this stage?
And things just got worse and worse from there. Watching the game live, it was difficult to pick a specific moment where Helm had suddenly wrestled control of the game away from New Holland, but it had happened. Quietly, and somehow, inevitably, they played the better game.
Helm are going to take this match 2-0, and we have another straight victory.
Yeah, 2-0. So Helm, they will keep their place on the upper bracket. It means that also New Holland's going to be dropping on the lower bracket at the same time as well.
My team spirit had been broken with that one, and it was hard to see. They'd been knocked into the losers bracket, which meant they could still win the tournament, but it was going to be a difficult road to get there, and if they lost just one more game, that was it. They were going home. Eager to lift their spirits, Quins and I took to the show floor in the hopes that we could find something, anything, to give them a bit of a morale boost before tomorrow's games. Now, what was meant to be a quick whirl around the convention soon got very silly, and I don't want to derail this video too much, but Well, we filmed the whole thing, and if you're a PMG patron, you can also watch that whole thing unfold, whatever it is.
There were a variety of reactions I was expecting to have from drinking the free convention milk. This was not one of them.
But eventually we found just what we've been looking for, the New Holland trade stand, as in New Holland, the actual farming machinery manufacturer worth billions and billions of dollars. I approached their front desk to let them know how their team was getting on. We're doing a documentary on the New Holland farming simulator team. Farming simulator team.
Right.
Honestly, it didn't seem like anyone here knew what I was talking about, but that did not stop me from getting them to record a motivational video message all the same. The following morning, we shared this video with the lads.
Hello, I'm Stephen Lucknan. I'm the UK product demonstrator for New Holland.
Hi, I'm Emma Bradley. I'm the brand communication and marketing intern.
And we are proudly backing the New Holland team in the Farming Simulator League.
Good luck tomorrow.
Bye.
C'est trop bien. Ah ouais, c'est trop cool. En fait, ils se sont renvoyés la balle. Ah ouais, c'est trop cool.
Is that good? And you know what? I think this might just have been exactly what they needed. They'd win their next game 2-0 and the next, cruising through their opponents in the losers bracket like a well-oiled combine through so much normal wheat, which brought them face to face with Trelleborg Tyres in the semi-final of this tournament. If they could win this game, they would get another shot at Helm and a chance to win that €15,000 prize. You know it already by now, but round one saw the team pick up Big Haul and go for their preferred game plan. Fatu lands the first bale, stepping up once again just when his team needs him the most, while Trelleborg's baler has what I would personally describe as an absolute mare. New Holland had noticed he'd not delivered the first bale yet and picked up a power-up to raise the bridge at the end there, it's worth noting. Incredibly disruptive play, love it.
Blocked from getting back out there, so that slowed him down as well. This is a horrible start.
Silo close is the other
Trelleborg.
And then of course, Team Big Haul does its thing.
Masterful play from New Holland. That is New Holland getting that 2.7 multiplier and holding it there to score as many points with as big a multiplier as they can.
This was maybe their best round of the entire tournament, with some very confident control of the multipliers throughout. Just one more win and we'll be in the final.
And New Holland will be happy to claim the first game of the series, and of course that's going to be one more obstacle taken away from the path to go to the grand final.
But something had changed. Even from the first bale of the second round you could feel it. Everything had suddenly shifted somehow. And our multiplier kings somehow end up at just 1.8 as they enter the endgame compared to Trelleborg's 2.2.
And the gap is pretty big for Trelleborg, to be honest. I don't know if New Holland can still catch that up. They will try to do everything they can. There's going to be a couple more bales, 5 seconds to go.
Oh no,
very awfully close. He's not going to fall down, and that one bale is not going to go in. And in the end, with a very, very small gap difference.
That was one each, taking New Holland and Trelleborg Tyres into a final decider. I was bricking it. Things didn't start perfectly, with Fatu being pipped to his baler, losing valuable seconds in the process, but somehow he does still manage to squeak in the first bale just before Trelleborg can get there. Now it's Trelleborg's turn to use Big Haul this time around, meaning they do get an early lead on the multiplier and are actually able to take advantage of that before New Holland can really claw it back, with one player driving up the belt with a full set of bales.
Now they've got 6 bales sitting there, have Trelleborg, and New Holland have yet to score any bales.
With 3 minutes left on the clock, just 4 points separate the two teams. A misplay from any player could see their team's chances of receiving a novelty check for €15,000 disappear like grain into a silo. New Holland grab the bottom boost power, meaning they're able to score bales on the ground level and still get the multiplier, which they take full advantage of, but still, the points gap is so close. And then I hear it. The words you just never want to hear in this game.
Yeah, it is looking a bit scary how many bales actually Trelleborg has around the belt, and they're still leading on the points as well, and we're almost starting the last minute, so this is looking actually very good for Trelleborg. But they don't have the bales. They don't have the bales. It's done.
Looks like New Holland are going out.
Trelleborg will be going to the grand final for sure. We still have 10 seconds to go, but there's just no chance at all that New Holland can do it anymore.
The bales that have come in for Trelleborg in the last few seconds has been immense, and it's going to be 100 points that they take it by, and there we go.
And that was it. I was gutted, genuinely gutted. But that, I think, is the sign that something had changed during these 2 days in Birmingham. When I watched the previous tournament at Gamescom, I was curious, sure, but I didn't really feel anything about what I'd watched. Not something deep down anyway. That was no longer the case. So first of all, the thing I want to say the most is I came into this video and learning about Farming Simulator League kind of skeptical that I would get it. It felt very outside of the stuff that I usually watch. You three lads have made me love this event. I've had such a good time watching you, and so like outside of the result itself, it's been personally so fun watching you three compete. I just wanted to say that before anything else. How are you feeling?
For me, it was my first tournament, so I'm a bit disappointed and confused about the lose in semi-final, of course, because I want to win. But I think I'm pretty proud of my tournament because it was my first one. Yeah. And I'm with two beautiful teammates, so it's incredible. It's an incredible experience.
There's an inside joke we have on the People Make Games team, usually about Quin's videos, honestly, in which we like to joke that he'll often pitch these stories about the most unusual left field communities in games, whether that's sex work in Second Life or the smorgasbord of things happening inside VR chat. And without a doubt, after a few weeks of speaking to people and immersing himself in their world, he comes out the other side a convert. I am so glad I got to experience something similar with Farming Simulator League, this incredibly niche competitive scene that's as much speedrunning as it is a traditional esport. Yes, Hal may be on an entirely different level to everybody else, and in case you're wondering, of course they won the tournament, but my lads, they've got heart, an awful lot of heart. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget, if you're a PMG patron, you can right now watch my full training session with the team, as well as Quin's and myself being really weird about farming machinery in Birmingham. So let the content continue. I could plow through all of these people. That's such a weird thought to have.